Here goes that weak YouTuber shit. uh, so what's up? This is episode 1 of the Shot for Shot podcast. I'm here with the homie Autumn,
Hey, what's
and
going
we
on?
are just gonna dive into it because I don't want to be weird. So, what's up?
There's no sense, dude.
Introduce yourself, Autumn. What you do, and how long you been doing it?
Alrighty, so what's up, guys? My name is Autumn. I've been shooting uh, professionally for 3 years, but I've been shooting as a hobby since I was 8 years old. I shoot hybrid, so both photo and video, and yeah, I don't really know what else there is to tell y'all, because I guess that'll all come later on.
Yep. Yeah, so Autumn is going to be pretty much co-hosting this with me. And we are just gonna have fun with it. Also, for those that don't know, I'm Chris, or you can call me Kodak Chris, Kodak, whatever it is. I started doing photography like 8 years ago. I brought my camera, but I wasn't like a professional at all. I just brought a camera just because. And then I took my first pictures at a concert 7 years ago. And after that day, that was when I was like, yeah, I want to do this full time. So ever since then, been touring. I do a little hybrid video and photography, but more so lean for photography. But yeah, we're just in it. So, uh, yeah, basically started this platform just because. Also, excuse me if I'm rubbing my eye. I had eye surgery, so my eye is wacky right now. But yeah, basically I started this platform so we could just have a place to come, like creators, like, and I hate that word, like content creators, but like
Mhm.
digital creators or whatever you want to call us. So we have a platform to come to and talk about whatever we want to talk about. And we're going to be interviewing some people, some homies of ours, some non homies of ours, just getting to know more deeper into people so we can just see what's up. Because a lot of times people just be too stiff. So I'm just trying to loosen it up. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a clown. So we got to loosen it up.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. This is gonna be more like kind of like the podcast that you could almost call like two professionals being the least serious possible. Like
Mm,
arguably, this is the kickback
yeah,
in the form of a podcast. So
exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
looking
So
forward to everything that's to come.
uh, So, all right, let's jump into it. What's been up? I ain't talked to you in a couple days. What you do over the weekend?
So over the weekend, I actually worked on a couple projects. I was supposed to go out and shoot yesterday, but I was feeling sick from some food I ate, so I
Mm.
didn't go and shoot for the coffee shop, but that was all right. Uh, Instead, I've been actually getting more familiar with Photoshop because me personally, I don't love Photoshop. I try to avoid using it as much as possible, and I think it's just because there's a whole lot going on over there, and I feel way more comfortable in other editing software.
Yeah, I
Uh,
cannot. I cannot. I don't want to say I hate Photoshop, but yeah, like you said, pretty much if I can use anything else, like I'm a Lightroom person, so like if I can use anything other than Photoshop, like I will try at least amount of times as possible to open Photoshop.
yeah, exactly. Like I'll go in there and touch up stuff like sometimes when people want me to go in on like flyaways or like people are super self-comment like conscious on like blemishes or something, like a lot of stuff, removing trash from photos because uh shooting outside a lot, you'll happen to be taking this amazing photo and they'll have like a Pepsi can crushed up right next to their feet.
Yeah,
Uh, So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been familiarizing and working on some projects in there. I did shoot for the coffee shop on Saturday though.
God,
Um,
that ended up going.
it went pretty all right. It's kind of hard because they're busy. So I have to shoot and then get them to make me something, at the same time. So, and they just dropped their fall menu. So, I gotta get those. I have some photos edited for them, but I need to get them some more as well as some of the dishes that they just dropped. I guess since y'all wouldn't know, I have a contract with a coffee shop in the South Loop, and I just take photos and videos for them for their social media, and for like any sort of graphics they have or anything like that that they need.
Yeah, no, that's dope. Yeah, I still gotta
What did you
go.
get up to?
I still gotta go to that coffee shop. But me this weekend, I was chilling. I did get a last call, a late night call for to shoot a concert at Radius, do video. So I
Hmm.
went. It was an EDM show, so I went to go see. It was Closey
Oh
and
man, I was
yeah,
supposed to be there.
yeah, Closey and Daily Bread. So
How was
it,
that? I'm jealous.
it was crazy. It was like packed, like from the front to the back at Radius, and it was just like,
Hmm.
um, I guess the LS Dreams. What's the guy's name?
Yeah, LS Dream came out for the song that they got together.
Yeah, so he came out for Closey set, and I know he gonna be there in December and stuff. So like, it was just crazy. But
Hmm.
yeah, the homie hit me up. And she was like, "Hey, like, I had a last minute cancellation for like video. Like, you free tonight?" And I was just like, "Yeah, of course I'm free." So I just went and shot that, and it was dope. I don't go to a lot of EDM shows, but like, it's definitely a vibe when you go to them.
Especially that one. That one's a lot more of a vibe, prettier,
Oh
not as
yeah.
heavy.
Yeah, I mean, even though like I'm sitting there, you just feel the bass in your chest the whole entire time. But yeah,
Hmm.
no, it was lit though. Yeah,
Man,
other,
this is so funny. Anytime I'm gonna go to one of those shows, because I frequent those more often, and I'm usually at a couple a month, for that, just for fun. But anytime you're gonna be there, I have this habit of not popping out and not even
never,
knowing that you were gonna be there.
never. It is like it's always funny because like I tell you like afterwards, and I'm just like, oh yeah, like that's how I was when I was at the Space Laces show. You was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I was supposed to go there, but I had some other stuff to do. I didn't even know you was gonna be at that show, and I'm just like, yeah, me either till they hit me up. So yeah,
Mm,
one of these days, we're gonna end up at the EDM show together.
yeah. That's all right. It's all right. But it was a vibe.
Oh yeah, like it was dope. Why am I goofy? So like this whole time, I leave the house. I was like editing, like pictures and like video stuff, and then I'm like, all right, I gotta leave the house, and then I like went to a homie's like housewarming and stuff before I went to the concert, and I pulled my camera out the bag. I could have sworn I charged my camera, didn't charge it,
Oh
so it was only halfway
nah.
full. And then I'm like, all right, it's good. Like I got my battery like in my book bag and stuff like that. So I'm just shooting away or whatever. Just doing like flip between like 4K and like 1080. Like I was testing out like 120, 1080, 120, just because I'm never shooting that. So I was just like, let me just try to get some shots just to play around with it. But just doing my thing. And then after like the first set I shot, I went to the back to try to like dump footage. And not only did I forget my card reader at home, but I forgot my extra battery at home too.
Oh
so,
shoot.
so I was like, oh my God, bro. So I had to like just sparingly like use my camera, like just like not waste it. I had to like really like hunt for those shots before I turned on my camera. So it was just kind of like a, all right, I feel like this is gonna be a dope part. I was switching on, record, do my little thing, and then shut the camera off. And then
Yep.
just like wait. And I was just like, all right, I'm wait until like the end portion because I got a bunch of the beginning stuff, a little bit of the middle stuff, and just different angles and stuff of the room. And then like towards the end, I was like, they the contact at Radius told us like LS Dreams was there and he might pop out. So I was like, all right, I gotta save my battery to like the end just in case this man pops out. And luckily he popped out, but also my camera died like as I was recording. so,
Dang.
so I had my camera in one hand and my iPhone in the other hand, recording at 4K 30. And I was like, just in case this camera dies on me, like at least I got something too. So I
Mm-hmm.
haven't edited the video yet, but we just gonna have to run it. I mean, it's better than not having the footage,
No, for
but
real. It is better.
yeah.
But dang, I hate when that happens, and that has happened to me. That has happened to me before. Next time, by the way, let me know because my camera was sitting downtown at my job in the South Loop. I got two batteries over there too, with all my camera set up.
Look, that's what I was saying. Like, oh my god, I was just that was just such a brain fart day. I just had so much stuff to do, and like by the time I even realized what was going on, I was just like, yeah, I didn't think this through. And I
Oh,
usually
that's
do
the
dummy checks
worst.
before I leave, like the house, and yeah,
Oh.
I still always usually forget something, even when I do like a dummy check, like.
Mm-hmm.
I usually, if I wasn't going somewhere before and I was going straight to the venue, I would have did another dummy check like when I got into the car because I usually do like
Mm.
two before I leave, and then one when I get in the car, and I have to like open my camera, make sure the battery is in there, make sure the memory card is in there, like everything. Like, do I got an extra battery? Do I got my laptop? Do I got my charger cord? My whatever I need, just in case I got to run back upstairs. But it's just that day I was just like, all right, I'm gonna just run it on this half full battery, and luckily I got a Nikon, so we got good battery life. But if I had a Sony, it would have been a wrap for me. I ain't gonna lie. It probably would have died like one song in, two songs in, probably.
Yeah, well, on that too, you probably would have been you would have probably been doing that internal raw that it does, which
Exactly.
would have killed your battery so fast.
Exactly.
Uh, so like it's kind of all right. The
Yeah.
the thing that I be forgetting because I forget our cameras can do it is I forget that we can charge them via USB-C.
Yes. And
And I
that's what I would
keep
usually
meaning to
do.
do that.
That's what I usually do sometimes. And the only thing is like because I got the first Z6, so mine's I can't shoot and charge it at the same time. But like I know
Mm,
like the Z6 II and like the newer like Z cameras, like you could charge and you can shoot at the same time, which is dope
mm-hmm.
because I usually always carry my portable battery charger with me anyway. And that would be like better for me. But even then, I didn't have my battery charger with me or nothing. So I was just like, all right, I'm just out here. So I had to get like my USB C cord like out the car. I didn't bring my laptop charger, so I had to plug my camera into my computer and just like let it charge. It charged up to like 7%, and then I went back out there, and like that's when I got like the last of the footage and stuff that I got. But it was just like all bad.
Ugh, man, it's rough.
Yeah,
I have been there where I go out to a shoot and I always have a couple batteries on me um
yeah.
because I've learned my lesson, but uh I've gone to a shoot with opening my camera and realizing it's got red bar and I'm like, "Oh no, I'm on one battery for the night now." And
Yeah, and that's why I'm like,
thankfully we got
I need to buy more batteries, honestly. But like, usually I'm like one battery, or like I'm charging the other one that's sitting on the charger, and then I also have to set a reminder on my phone, like, hey, grab your battery before you leave, because I'll just leave it plugged into the wall somewhere. But yeah, I was just lucky, but also not lucky that night.
Yeah, I mean, at least I'm sure the footage looks good, so like
Yeah,
not a whole lot to worry about. And iPhones can be pretty reliable for concert stuff.
yeah,
Um, See, it's hard because it's like it's moments like that where it's like, dang, I wish I had a second camera. Dang, I wish I had like 50 batteries like people would be saying. And
yeah,
I know anybody that's listening to this that like does what we do, they're gonna be like, oh, you should be listening to those YouTubers. You know how they say you should
yeah,
have this many cards, you should have this many like backup batteries. Like people are like, yeah, I usually bring like 5 or 6 batteries, and I'm like, that's crazy. I only need like 3 batteries for the day.
yeah.
And
Even then, like even if I'm shooting like a wedding for the whole day, I'm just not even. I just like 2 batteries. I can honestly, if I'm doing just photo, I can honestly just run that whole day with just one battery. I probably wouldn't even have to change my battery. Um, I'll just change it maybe before like the first dance and stuff just to make sure it doesn't die. But like I can use it running off of one battery. Um,
yep.
because I'm always shutting my camera off in between, like when I'm shooting and stuff anyway. So it's just like I'm not just sitting there constantly doing stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then whenever I sit down and I'm sitting and dumping footage and stuff, my battery is charging or I'm plugging my camera in or something. So it's never where it's just like I'm just out here, no plugs, no chargers anywhere. Like I try to at least do something, but yeah, I need to start listening. Um, you know, I'm not very responsible with my photography stuff anyway. Like for for as much stuff as I
Yeah.
do, I'm like I am probably the most least responsible and like yeah, I just don't do anything like I'm supposed to do. I just got a camera strap, so like
Oh,
we out
yeah,
here.
I remember you telling me about that, and I was just like, huh? Like, are you serious?
Yeah. I'm like, and I still would take it off. It's a wrist camera strap, and I'll still just take it off. And it's just like, oh, it's in my way. And then I'm just in the pit and just getting smacked around, thrown around with my camera in my hand. And all I'm doing is just holding my camera in the air and just like, all right, we out here. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's why I got the camera strap that I do, because like I need it to be able to pop right off. And
Mm,
so I got that peak design because those quick release clips are so necessary for me, because usually most of the time I'm pretty handheld, but if I'm just like running around, or like I got like a lot of stuff to do and I just can't find a place to like set my camera down safely, like I'm just like clip, clip, we're good, you know?
yeah. Yeah. And me, I'm just like, oh, it's a ledge right here. Set my camera down. I'm standing next to it on my phone or something. And it's just acting like I don't have thousands of dollars worth of gear just sitting there. And I need to chill.
You're literally breaking those all the rules that they say not to do. That's
Oh,
funny.
yeah. Right. I mean, at least I got better because, like, back in the day, like, I brought me, I used to have like a small little camera bag back when I had my Nikon D5500. I had a small little camera bag from like Best Buy or something. Whenever I bought my camera, and then I had like one of those like knapsack like bags, like backpacks, like a little satchel type backpack, and I just put my camera bag at the bottom of that bag, and then just toss my stuff in there. So it really wasn't even protected like that. And then like I ended up probably like a year or two later getting a real camera bag, but like a cheap one off Amazon. And then now I got like a real camera bag like in 2020. And then
Mm.
I got me like the like a Pelican type case too for like all my gear, like when I take everything out. So I'm like, all right, I feel like I'm an adult now. Like I feel like I'm a professional, but usually, nah. I'm like I would just throw stuff anywhere and everywhere.
I did the over the shoulder bag for a while. I got two of those. And that's what I was rocking. Now I rock the backpack. I got
Yeah.
this nice backpack that someone gave me, and that way the laptop can go with me. I can fit all my gear, and like even if I need it, like some clothes. Like
Oh yeah.
now I can't fit all my gear if I want clothes. Like if I want to bring the gimbal, if I want the drone coming out with me, like
Mm,
clothes gotta go. But other
yeah.
than that, like I've fit my gimbal, my drone, my camera with both lenses, batteries, like and my monitor in there. No problem.
Yeah. I'm lucky. I got that brevity bag. I don't have the super big one, but I got the jumper bag, and
I almost bought that.
I can. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Because one, it's like it's bright red. I mean, red is my favorite color, but also I'm at a concert. It's dark. I'm looking around like I don't want to put my bag down and then I can't find it somewhere. So I'm just like, I need something super bright so I can look at it. But I can fit my laptop in there, my camera with a lens on it, two extra lenses, my flash. Like if I got my little like video light, my little dead cat microphone, Rode mic, and then I put my charger, my SD cards, SSD, like all the extra stuff in there, battery charger, and it fits everything. It's like stuffed, but it fits everything. But
Yep.
um, I'm like, that's all I need. And then um, I got the like small, like portable, like sling bag now that Moment sent me out, and that one I love because it's just like small and compact, so I can't like stuff too much in there. So it just kind of makes me think before I leave the house, so I'm not just throwing everything in there. So I could just fit like one extra lens, like my batteries, like my cards, and just yeah, that's really it. Like not much. So I'm just like before I leave, where I'm like, all right, I want to move through the photo pit and not just have like my extra lens in my back pocket or something like that. Like I actually got a strap where I can sling it around and change my stuff, which is super
Okay.
convenient for me.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I'm never sure what I want to totally have on me because I usually use my one leather case for everything because I have managed to fit everything in that. Um, but that one I have to think a little more. I can't bring everything, and sometimes I'm like, "Oh, I want my diffusion filter on me," or "Oh, I like what if I do want to shoot video? Like I'm not just going to shoot video and own a monitor that opens me up to that like ProRes and up to that 10-bit, 12-bit stuff." So, it's hard
Yeah.
to really decide, but
See,
that
that's the thing when you doing that video. See, I don't have to worry about a lot of that stuff because I'm just shooting video on the fly most of the time. So if I do, I'm just doing photos. So I don't really have to carry as much as you do.
Yeah, it's kind of why I wish I never caught that video bug, because the moment I got it, I'm like, oh, now I gotta be a filmmaker.
Yeah,
Oh, like, but that's how it goes. And I'm
yeah,
okay with that because the content that I can put out because of it is only gonna get better. My photo will make my video better, and my video will make my photo better because they'll
yeah,
have me thinking more in different ways, and I'll have all that gear too, and a lot of that gear can like cross section.
mm, yeah. Nah, that's why. I mean, I like it's so crazy because I still have the same exact outlook at like video shooting that I did when I first started like video shooting because it was like every concert I would go to, I would just take video clips, just regardless, just for like my memory type thing, and just to kind of like have. And I like, I'll never forget the first tour I went on. I was like shooting some video clips, and I was like, oh, like look at the video I got or whatever. It was just like, oh, this dope, and it was like, can you make a quick recap real quick and like put that together with like the tour dates and stuff on there? And I was like, yeah, of course. Had no type of video editing software, like no experience. That was my first time opening Final Cut Pro. And I was just like, all right. And I sat there literally for probably like 4 or 5 hours making like a recap video. Never had done one before. And then made one and had it to post the next morning. And I was like, well, I guess I do a little bit of both now. But Even now, like I'll go out and
Hmm.
do video. I just hate editing. Like you know me, I just hate editing. It's too tedious. With photos, I can go in and I can spend like maybe a minute, 2 minutes with a photo, and that's all I need because I'm not doing too much like heavy Photoshop and stuff. But I'm just like, oh, maybe a simple crop, maybe a simple taking stuff out. But usually I leave my photos like just what I see pretty much. But
Hmm.
video, it's just so many different variables, and I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah, video's a planning process that I'm learning because I've been shooting a lot of video as primarily a photographer, and I'm going back and I'm like, okay, it looks good, okay, it sounds good, but it's not what it needs to be, like it
Yeah,
doesn't have that look that I imagined in my head. Because it's like with video, you have to slow down a lot. You have to pre-plan a lot. It's
yeah,
you don't really check your settings that much for it.
mm,
Whereas like I have all my function buttons on my camera set. That's why I love the camera because you've got the two on the front and then you've got the one on the top, and I'm just constantly like, oh, like zipping through it, scrolling that wheel and everything. For video, I'm like, deep breath. Okay, I need to go this direction. My camera needs to be coming down. I need to be crouching down, angling down this way, but I need to be going slow
yeah.
and like, or like I need to check this light. I need to double check. I need to make sure that this lighting is this kind of way. Whereas like in photo, you can just throw that lighting in there and it's like there.
It's like
Video, you can't do that.
I don't know. It's like because I hear like two different things sometimes because they like I hear some video people like, oh, video is more forgiving sometimes. Like, but then when I look at video, I'm like, I feel like photography is more forgiving because like I'm freezing the frame. So it's like
Yeah.
it's just one single frame. But video, you have a clip that's moving. So like if it's a part and especially at concerts in low light, it's already you fighting against the light anyway. It's strobes and stuff. So like if it misses focus for a second, it can make or break a video. Like
Yeah.
all of that. So it's just like you have to like think ahead before you make your next move with video, which is cool. Like I like it. I like shooting video. It's just once you think ahead and like, all right, this is how I'm gonna do a transition and this is how I'm gonna do that. And then actually sitting down and doing that, nah. I just haven't found my workflow yet with video.
Yeah. I totally get that. And I'm kind of working on that too because I need to get more into the workflow of it because a lot of the video stuff right now that I shoot and will sit down and edit no problem is always like for fun.
Mm,
But when it comes to like taking it a little more seriously or like having to put together like a real full-fledged project, it's like, man, I have a lot to be thinking about right now. Whereas
yeah,
if I'm going out to shoot like photo, I'm like, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. I'm usually
yeah,
like just taking like what like the photo equivalent to B-roll, not even thinking about it. There's
yeah.
nothing going on up here when I'm shooting half the time anyway. It's just
Oh
like,
yeah. This is, I'm just out here. I'm just like, now. Granted,
yup,
yes, I know like I'm usually hunting for shots. Like
yeah,
even even like no matter what I'm doing, I know like at bare minimum what I'm trying to shoot. Um, which I mean, I get. It's like I got lucky that I kind of got that concert bug because yeah, it's like it's just all action shots. I don't really have to think too much about it. I could just like capture the action. So I'm just like I got to think a little bit, but nothing too crazy. But if I'm thinking like portraits or weddings and stuff like that, like setting up shots and stuff, I'm like that's the stuff that just gets me like I got to think more. I gotta. It's more thinking involved into it.
yeah.
But
Thankfully, weddings can be pretty action set up.
yeah,
And also the cool thing about things like wedding as well is like you kind of in the same way that you form a style for like editing and like how you want your colors to look and everything like that. it's like the same way, like people kind of develop they'll do like the same basic like 10, 20 photos that are like hard required
Mm,
that you cannot miss, but then there's like all those extra ones that give you the reason why you're booked and why you're hired. And
yeah,
like when you like form a style of how your photos not only like look, colors, tones, like lighting and everything, but like a style of how like everything's framed, composition, all that stuff. Like
yeah,
that all that stuff is what makes all that more like kind of flow, and you have that entire workflow where it's like you're less on the brain part and more of just like going with the flow, moving.
yeah.
And that's the stuff
Nah,
I love about photography is when you can just glide.
yeah. I know, and that's why I kind of like. That's why I like shooting weddings, and stuff because it's like I said, I did concerts. That's how I started, pretty much. So like everything is like fast paced to me. Like even when I was young, before I even got into photography, like I always wanted a fast paced job. I used to work in fast food. I used to want to be a nurse and work in the emergency room. Like I went trying to be an EMT. Like literally everything just fast paced. So once I got into
Mm-hmm.
concert photography, I'm like, oh, it's fast paced. I got to think on my feet and I got to hunt these shots. So even with weddings, it's like I got to think on my feet because there is no redo. There is no second chance. Like if you miss it, you miss it. If you don't, you don't. And it's like that pressure. Like I thrive under that pressure. So it's like I love it. But when I got a whole time, like even though I'm getting way better at portraits and like setting up shots, but it's just kind of like I just like taking pictures of people in they like natural like habitat, if that makes sense. So it's just like,
We we definitely got to get a segment where because I've seen both sides of your shots, where I've seen your wedding and I've seen your concert, and your wedding is good. Don't get me wrong, but your concert, that's like love. That's
yeah,
like it, it feels very similar to how I feel. It's like, oh yeah, like I could go out, I could meet someone and fall in love, but this concert photography stuff, like that's
yeah,
love.
yeah,
Like this is my first love, arguably. Like, like
yeah.
where it's like I'm at home, I'm comfortable, and like it's just not it's nothing. And
Oh,
you make it look effortless. And that aspect of it is so tight, man.
oh, thank you. Yeah, that's just I don't know. I just got. I feel like it was just a perfect like recipe when I started like photography, like my whole journey, because I went and I took pictures at a good venue that had good lighting, and I didn't have to have a press pass. I just didn't want to keep my camera in the car. I had just bought like a 35 millimeter 1.8 and everything. So I was just like, it was literally the perfect recipe. Had no idea anything about low light photography, nothing. And I was just like, oh, let me take some photos. And I had already like started shooting in raw, just because like Frodo's photos and stuff like that. So like I was looking up when I wanted to buy a camera a bunch of reviews. So I always was shooting in raw, and just like my exposure triangle and stuff like that. So I was just like, oh, now I'm in a low light situation. I have to move faster and try to catch this action and stuff. And then it was just like, man, that just gave me that challenge and everything I wanted. So now it's just like I still get crazy enough. Like I still get nervous when I go shoot shows. Like I don't know what I'm doing, or like I don't know like if I'm gonna get the right shots or whatever. Like it's crazy. I get a little nervous.
Hmm.
This more
I'm
recent
right there
time.
with you.
Oh my god, this more recent time was even more crazy because like me coming back from like not shooting for like 2 months after like surgery and all of that. I got on an eye patch and my sunglasses. I'm just in the pit. I'm squinting because the strobes is bothering my eyes, and I'm just like spraying and praying, like hopefully like this turns out good. And I was just super nervous, and like that was some of the best photos and video I didn't shot in a while,
Hmm.
honestly. So I was just like, I guess I do
There's
still
some
got it.
heat in there for sure.
Yeah.
Do you do you ever when you literally have to go into like a spray or pray, like when you're hoping to get like that shot, do you ever be turning on that like high plus continuous and being like, look, if I'm gonna land this shot, I know it's gonna be within this 150 photos I'm about to dig through. And
So
you're like sitting there, like zooming in on your screen, like, uh-huh,
you
no,
like, I gotta
okay,
get
let's keep
one.
going.
Yeah, nah, you know what's funny? Like, I just started using the high plus, like probably like in June. Like that's
Oh
the first time
wow.
I started using it, and it was because I wanted to practice making like gifts. So I was like, I did it at the Wiz Khalifa concert. I don't think I ever sent you the gift I made.
No, you didn't. Yeah.
I did one of Wiz and I did one of Snoop, and I was like, all right, like I'm gonna shoot that, but I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense because like you could freeze like fast action, duh, and I'm like, again, I'm a professional but not a professional, so like. I'm like, yeah, you can freeze fast action. So when I got one of the jumping shots that I got last time at the Dance Gavin Dance concert, the band Sim, the guy would like kept like jumping up on the riser and then jumping off. So I was like, all right, let me put this in high like continuous just so I can make sure that I actually freeze his body like in the air and stuff. And it worked. I probably would have been able to get the shot too, but like if I didn't do that, but it just makes it easier. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna probably start using this more, but I don't want it to make me lazy though, if that makes sense.
Yes. So I only use it in times where like I'm like, I need this specific shot and I want to be able to look back on this photo and be like, okay, I hit it and like there's no questions about it. I can look corner to corner to corner to corner and everything across this photo looks fantastic. And
Yeah.
that's like usually when I'll do it if it's not like I'm in single shot if I'm shooting like if I'm shooting portraits usually, like I'm in because I'm just spamming that button anyway to where I
Yeah.
don't need to have it doing it for me because I could just click refocus, click refocus and it because of the reason a lot of people will make fun of us for I go into single for that reason just so I don't lose it because our tracking is not the most incredible.
Yeah. For
But
those that don't know, we're Nikon shooters. Shout out to Nikon. I love Nikon. I love y'all. But yeah, I have an older Nikon mirrorless, so I can't talk about like Z8 or the ZF or nothing like that. But as of
yeah,
right now,
exactly.
on that, it's a struggle. But I came
The
from the
I just I just watched a review that said the ZF, the Z8, and the Z9 are shooting on par with the Sony A1 right now and the Canon R5, which
yeah
is saying pretty much it's at that 95% perfect because
yeah
when Sony came out with that A7 IV, Canon came out with that R3, and then now there's Panasonic with the S5 II. They've all got that real nice like hard lock, like you don't have to worry about losing it.
yeah
And so like I'll take 95, over like anything if it means I can stay with Nikon for as long as possible.
yeah. And that's
They
like
sorted it out.
that I knew they was gonna sort it out. That's why I never jumped ship. I was just like, nah, like I'm gonna stick it out. Like, yeah, I get it, but this is another thing too. Like, I started off with a D5500, like crop sensor camera, and I started off with arguably like the hardest photography that you could possibly do, which is low light concert photography. Because like even if you're doing astrophotography, like yeah, it's low light, but you don't have to worry about like fast movements and stuff like that. You might get light streaks, but low light concert photography with that little like crop sensor camera, my camera like I was just working it. So it's just like when I upgraded to the Z6, it was like night and day. And I was just
Yup.
like, oh, like this is amazing. This is actually cheating now because I don't have to work as hard to get these shots. But
Yup.
I've shot with Sony's before, I've shot with the Canons before, and like, yeah, that lightning fast autofocus, especially in low light, like that's crucial. But I mean, when it's like daylight, if it's just like a portrait setting and stuff like that, like you can't really tell. But it's just that with fast moving shots, it's just sometimes I'll miss a shot and I'm just like I'll be doing a wedding and I'll miss a shot and I'm just like, all right, Nikon, like if I had a Sony, this is what I wouldn't have missed that shot. But
Yep.
uh,
It goes exactly like that because I started on the same camera you did. I started with the 5600.
oh yeah,
There's 50, the 53, 54, 55,
yeah,
and 56, all the same camera. There's no
yeah,
difference. Uh, except I think the only difference was that mine had like some Wi-Fi or something on it. But
mm-hmm.
like same camera, and literally the switch was night and day. I still think about it and I'm like, they say that the 53/5600 is like the best like camera to start off with if you're gonna get into photography.
Yeah,
Um, and jumping from that to the Z6 II, I would almost say the Z6 II is where everyone should start at this point because,
yeah,
man, do you suffer and you grow out of that camera fast.
yeah, yeah. And that's the craziest thing. Like I was just talking to somebody this weekend because they hit me up and they were just like, "Yo, like, what is like a good camera that you would recommend?" And I get that question a lot, and I'm just like, "Well, what are you shooting? Like, what do you eventually want to shoot? And realistically, what is your budget?" Because I'm like, I can get you because like people don't understand sometimes like how expensive like this hobby and this profession is. So they like, oh yeah, I want to shoot 4K videos and music videos and this and that, and my budget is $600, and it's just like, look, like you're not probably gonna get nothing around that price like good like that. And I just tell people straight up, but at the same time, it's like we we start off with like that low brand camera, but I'll tell people like, hey, I can tell you to buy this kit with like a like a Rebel kit, or well now it's mirrorless and stuff now, like an M50 or like the Z30 or something like that. I can tell you to buy this kit, but then um uh, uh,
Hello?
yeah, all right, we back on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So
Um,
but yeah, like they'll tell you like to start off with like something like small, something good. But I usually try to give people like a step up of whatever they would need right now, just so they can grow into it and future proof themselves a little bit. Like I'm not gonna go tell you like, oh, go drop $5,000 on this camera. But if it's like, oh, my budget is $1,000, then I'll be like, hey, go grab you, a used Z6 and grab you a 35 millimeter or something like that, or go grab you a used like A72 and grab you a Sigma 35 or something like that. It's just like piece something together just to get you started. And then like once you learn the camera, you will grow with it and you won't outgrow it too soon. Cause like I won't say I outgrew my D5500 super fast. Like it definitely was a wow, but like I said, especially doing concerts, like I quickly realized the limitations that that camera had.
exactly,
And
exactly.
it's just like, yeah, that's why I always tell people like, whatever camera you think you need, like just try to go one step above, unless you like know exactly what you need.
Exactly. And that's uh that's something that I'm even catching now on having the Z6. And kind of like one of like the things that you wanted to talk about today is gear doesn't matter
Yeah, I was just
until
about to
it
say
does
that.
matter.
Yep.
Is like, is my Z6 II amazing? Is it better than like a Z7 or a Z8 in low light? Yeah, absolutely. It's got that 24 megapixel sensor that's going to perform in low light. It's got the big sensor and everything like that. but it's going to perform better in low light. However, there are some things that you just notice that you outgrow that you like need and you have a need. Like I'm starting to really understand that, like, can I get by without having that crazy autofocus? Of course I can.
Yeah,
But do I think that I need better autofocus? Yes,
yeah,
because I'll be hitting even crazier shots than I started with.
yeah, yeah. That was
And
yeah, that's always like the biggest thing, and that's why like on Twitter, that like they had that Kevin James picture like looking like that, and it's just like, what photography opinion has you like this? But that's always my go to, because like I said, I started off with such a low like entry level camera that it was just kind of like everybody. I'm in the photo pit, and like we've all seen it. If you ever been in a photo pit or you've been somewhere with a bunch of photographers, and then I'll like look at somebody. Even now, like I was just shooting a concert and I looked at a guy next to me and he had like a Rebel with like a kit lens on it, and I'm like nodded him up, like, yeah, like there you go, because no matter what, you still got a camera and you still shooting. But like I know I used to be super intimidated in the pit, because I would go at that time when I first had my camera. This is like 6 years ago. I'm like, everybody in there got a Canon like 6D or 5D Mark III or something like that, and just these big like full frame cameras. And then I'm just sitting here with my little crop sensor D5500, and I used to get so intimidated and be like, "Oh man, I need the 24 to 72.8. I need all these lenses and this and that." But um, and then I'm seeing people's pictures, and I'm like, oh, I got to learn how to edit better and all of this stuff, which is good stuff to have. But it's just like at the end of the day, after like all that was all said and done, I was like, you know what? The only thing that matters is I'm like, hey, I got kids. I can't afford to just drop this money. Like, this is a new hobby for me. Like, I can afford to just drop like 2 or 3 grand on camera gear. So it's like, you know what? I'm gonna make the best of what I got. And people might be able to edit better than me. People might have better gear than me, but you are not going to take better pictures than me, and you're not going to work harder than me. And that's just kind of like how my mindset started. And I just made
yep,
my gear work for me until I reached the point where it's just like, yeah, I need a new camera. If that makes sense.
yep. But I'm a big advocate of the best camera that you have is the one that you already own, the
Mm-hmm.
one that you bring. And so uh, I just had my camera gear downtown because I needed it for the weekend, but all I had on me was like my phone. And we had that crazy fog on Friday, like that
Yeah,
gorgeous fog in that morning.
yeah.
And I took some crazy photos on my phone. And they're noisy. There's a little bit of color noise. There's some chromatic aberration in there, but you know what? Those photos go crazy. Like
And,
I love them
and
because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if I have my and regardless of what I'm shooting, it doesn't matter if I have some fancy Airy for shooting video, doesn't matter if I have some fancy Nikon Z8 or 9 for shooting photo, and it doesn't matter even if I have my Z6 II to shoot photo or video, because my phone is just as good if I know what I'm doing. And my phone's got raw capabilities, so
that's what
guess
I'm
what?
saying.
I know what I'm doing.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's just I've seen so many photos of like people that just do like iPhone photography, and like it does not matter. Like yes, you have limitations to certain things. Like obviously, like your sensor is different. It's not as big. Like your phone sensor is not going to be as big as like a full frame camera sensor, but you're still going to be able to get that shot. And the biggest thing that people forget is getting the shot. So I'd rather get the shot. Like I said, when I had my iPhone, and then I had my Z6, and when it died, I still had my iPhone recording. Because it's like at the end of the day, the biggest thing is getting that shot. So if it looks a little different,
Exactly.
and even if I got to make it a quick clip and like mix it in with the recap video, so what? But I still got that shot, and that's all that matters. Like you saying, the biggest thing is nobody's gonna know. Like they're not gonna know. They're never gonna know. Like unless it's some
Exactly.
people that's pixel peeping or some super professional people that's just like, did you shoot this on an iPhone? But even then, like most people won't realize, especially in a recap video with transitions and it's moving fast, like they probably won't even realize
No one is pixel peeping anyway.
it.
Even
Yeah,
professionals aren't pixel peeping. Not unless you, realistically, to put it bluntly, unless you're an asshole, you're not doing it. Like
yeah,
I've done it before to just like tell the difference and like look and be like, "Oh wow, like that's crazy." And I'm like pixel peeping for positive reasons, but realistically, there's nobody that's being a grouch. Usually most people in the community are pretty tight and they're more interested in like what did you capture? Because to
mm,
us, as long as you got the right thing, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
yeah,
Um, and I'm gonna tell people that their stuff looks hard, whether they're shooting on a Rebel T6 or they're shooting on Leica.
yeah.
You know, like it doesn't matter.
If you got a good photograph, you got a good photograph. It doesn't matter what you shoot
Exactly.
on, because you got people that will go out
Exactly.
and buy $5,000, $10,000 worth of gear. They go get a Sony Red, and it looks like somebody shot it with an iPhone, or like somebody just shot it handheld with an iPhone. Or you get somebody that got, like you said, like the Z9 or the R3 or Sony A9, and it's just like it looks like somebody took a picture with their phone, and it's just like, at the end of the day, if you're not using it to your best of your abilities, it's not going to like it's not really going to matter at the end of the day.
Exactly. It's a do you it's almost like do you have that romance with taking photos, with creating these images, with shooting video, with making these different types of films, you know, or whatever you have a passion for in the space of being behind a camera. Like,
Yeah.
if you've got that in you, no matter what you're holding, you can definitely get it.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Look, if we weren't a brand new podcast, this will we will insert our ads at, but we don't have no ads yet. But
so sponsor us.
yeah, sponsor us, please. I would love to. I don't have a sponsorship, but I do have a little partnership with Moment. So Shop Moment, go in there. They got a lot of gear on there. This is not sponsored. I just love them. But yes, they did send me out some stuff, some filters in their bag. But it's just a super dope platform for creators. And like if those iPhone photographers, videographers, they got courses on there. They got experiences on there where you can book trips to like Iceland and stuff and go learn how to create with people. They got LUTs and like presets, all that stuff to buy. And then also you can shop. It's like Amazon for photography, videography. So it's just more specialized. So you can go and talk to a professional on there and let them know exactly what you need and exactly what you're shooting, and they can point you into the right direction. So I just think it's a super dope site. But yeah.
Exactly. They've been doing some real cool stuff, especially in the last couple of years.
Oh
I've
yeah.
got couple of homies who've got Moment stuff. I don't personally own anything from Moment because I picked up a lot of stuff before I started looking in their direction.
Yeah.
But even when I was looking at getting an X100V, like that Cinebloom 5% and that 10% were going to be the first things I threw on the front.
And it
You
looks
know,
so
like
good. It looks so
um,
good. I got
because that
the
stuff is just so good.
Yeah, I got the Cinebloom. I think I got the 5%, the 10%, and then I got. Did I get the 20%? I think so. And then I also got the Cine Streak filter, the blue streak filter. So I'll like throw
Yeah,
those on sometimes too. But yeah, I don't know. I just love it. Like especially, it just gives it that like softer look, like that not too digital look. Um, which is
mm-hmm.
which is good because especially for video for me because I hate when it looks too like digital. I want it to look a little softer, like that filmic look. But then even photos, it just gives it a nice little like glow, like the way the lights hits it and stuff like that. I just love it. But yeah, shout out to Moment. they don't sponsor, but I just rock with them. But
No, that goes crazy.
But also, I saw this like Twitter chat. So I love some. I'm always on Twitter. I'll never call it X, by the way. But
Please don't.
no, never, never. One of the homies I follow on Twitter, R6M2 guy. So he posted up a question and he said, "Photographers, do y'all think photographers who charge too low are ruining the game for professional photographers who charge higher prices, or you don't give a f about it? And let's be honest and talk." I don't know why I said F
Well,
like that. Give a fuck about it. Yeah, there we go.
so this is where that meme that I'm a little tired of seeing now, but that's where it comes in, and it's old Boar or with his hands in his pockets, and he's just like, because
Yeah.
if I'm being honest, yeah, like
Yeah.
I do care about that like a lot. Like I when I started low.
Yeah.
Um, but then I watched and I had I sent you this video a while back. And I was charging low and like I was like being kind. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll come out and shoot for 4 hours for $100. Like no big deal." And they're like, "Oh, we'll make sure you're fed too. We'll get you drunk, like all that stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, like that's so nice of you guys." Until I realized,
Oh, you switched to your desktop.
yeah,
Look,
we
look,
shouldn't run into an issue anymore ever or really ever again.
look. Let
Although
me
now my
do.
back's blown out. Ain't no way.
There we go. The yeah.
Goofy as hell.
I'm like, oh, they got a little soundboard. Let me go ahead and just press it. But you were just talking about when you were charging.
We
You were trying to be nice and charging $100 for 4 hours of work. Yeah,
oh
let's get back to that.
yeah. So I was doing that and I was like, that's messed up of me. Like why would I do myself like that? Like it just it's like sometimes work is just not going to be for you, and if they're
Yeah,
not willing to pay you the right price, then that work is not for you, especially like if you know what your worth is.
yeah,
And so I'm gonna have to go ahead and say yes. There's also another wedding photographer that I really like. It's this dude named John Branch.
mm,
He said the number one rule, and I agree, unless it's for yourself, unless you're shooting for yourself, it's a personal art project or whatever, charge for photos. Charge for photos. Do not
yeah,
shoot for free. Never shoot for free. Ever. Even if you're you're lowballing yourself. Do not shoot for free. Period. Ever. Just
yeah,
don't do it. Because you're
yeah,
doing yourself a disservice and you're doing every other photographer, every other videographer, filmmaker out there a huge disservice. And it's not fair.
yeah. And it's crazy because it's like people like clients they understand the difference between quality work and not so quality work. So it's like when it's first starting off, when people ask me about charging for photos, I'm like, even if you're like 18 years old, you live with your parents, you're like, hey, I don't know what to charge. You're like, I don't know what to charge. I'm like, you should at least, at bare minimum, be guest listed and just think of how much money it would cost to fill up your gas tank. I'm like, that's the minimum that you should be charging. So if it's like $40, $50, whatever, come out, shoot, $50, cool. Yes, is it a lot of money? No, but yeah, it's at least some food on the way home and to fill up your gas tank, depending on how far you drove. So it's like if you are, and this is if like a band is hiring you. Like I know it's like super gray areas because like I said, I do mostly like concerts and stuff. So it's like it's super hard and it's like I don't know. I think it's one of the hardest industries to get paid in. in general when it comes to photography, because it's just like it's so oversaturated with people that just want to do it for free. Like they would actually pay to go take pictures of these people that they taking pictures of. So it's like hard when it's like you get people where it's like we're on the same level, or you see people that's on the same level as you, and they're like charging ridiculously like less than you. So like just for example, let's say if I'm shooting for a client or they want me to shoot and they tell me everything they want and I quote them $500 for the evening, and then they go to somebody that's like right at the same level as me, like artistically or right below, and then that person is just like, "Oh, throw me $100." Now they're like, "Oh, I can get this type of quality for $100." And then it's like, oh yeah, you might get that opportunity, you might get more job for that, but you working harder for your money. And then now it messes up the next person because when I try to charge a reasonable price, they're like, "Ooh, what? 250 for some photos? Like that's a lot of money." And it's just like, no, it's really not a lot of money if you think about it. So it's just like people people need to understand like, yes, when you just starting off and you building that portfolio, 100%. You're gonna do a lot of reaching out. Um, but with concerts, it's real iffy to get paid because most of the time you just reaching out, just trying to get a photo pass or press or something anyway. But if it's like straight up like, oh, I'm shooting a wedding and I'm gonna charge $250 for this wedding, like, and you were like amazing at weddings, like, I mean, you know how it is. Like, you just yelled at me not too long ago for my prices and stuff that I was shooting at.
If you're charging $250 for a wedding, respectfully, I'm taking you out back,
Yeah.
and I'm handling you like the brother from Of Mice and Men,
Yo,
because
it's just like, come on, like you really.
boy,
It's just like I get it. Like my very first wedding that I shot, like, so I brought my camera like a week or two before my homie's wedding, and I shot his wedding, and it was good. We like made some good images. Like he loved the images and stuff like that. I wasn't even his hired photographer, but I just brought my camera just to play around with it. The very first wedding I got booked for, I charged $500 for that wedding, right? And this was like my first year of photography. So I'm like, oh, cool, like $500. It's only 8 hours of work. That's more than like I would usually make, which is technically more than like most people make hourly. So it's like probably like $50. Like if you think about it, it's like $50 an hour at that point. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's a decent amount. I had to drive from Chicago to Indianapolis. So that was 2 hours, like 2.5 hours. So I drove there and then I shot for 8 hours, wedding. And then we were off after the wedding. We went to somewhere else, like another park to go shoot like couples and like bridesmaids and stuff pictures. And then we went back to another place for the reception and all of that. And then at the end of the day, I left and I'm dog tired and I'm beat. And I'm like, I got 2.5 hours to drive back home. And at that moment, I was like, I would never in my life do this shit for this amount of money ever again. Cause it's just like, no, like it's ridiculous. Like you realize like how fast stuff like that is just unacceptable because it's like you gotta take everything else to it. And then when I got home that night, the job isn't done because I still have to edit all the stuff that I shot. So it's like people think like you're just charging them like for just coming out and shooting. Like now I understand the people that charge for edits because it's like not only do I have to come out and shoot, I gotta prep for the shoot, I gotta go like drive, use all this stuff, and then I gotta go home to my thousands of dollars worth of editing equipment and software and all this stuff and sit down for hours at a time to edit and then send it to you. And it's just all of these costs that's associated with it. After you start doing it for a while, you realize real fast, like, yeah, I hold a grudge against people that just like undercut people on purpose or just charge less for no reason when it's like you shouldn't be charging what you're charging.
at that point, it's two things. either you shouldn't be doing paid work, or you need to figure your life out, because it's like you're doing what people some people go to school for this. Like, arguably
Yeah.
most of the people who are in the industry do go to school for it.
Mm.
Like, it's a lot easier now to get into it, especially if you have the passion for it. But it's like you can't do yourself like that. Like,
No.
especially for a wedding. And then when people are like, "Oh, we just can't afford that, but we want a whole team for our wedding." It's like, you want a whole $5,000 worth of a wedding,
Yeah.
because you have to remember, I gotta I gotta eat, and so do the 2 to 3 other people who are coming out with me, and we have to
Mm.
get there, and we have all this gear that if anything happens to it, we are now out of work. Plus we have our subscriptions, plus we have all these little add-ons that we have to get for our software, plus we have our hardware, like the thing that you
Yeah.
and I are sitting at talking on right now.
Yeah.
Like, it is just not it's not as easy as people think, and they think it's all sunshine and rainbows. And
No.
like, y'all paid how much to go to college? Let's just say on the medium end, 40 grand.
Yeah.
Y'all paid 40 grand to go to college. And it's just like, now you want to go and get married, and you know how expensive it is. If you want a cheap wedding, sacrifices got to be made, or go to Vegas, get
Man,
married there.
look, I have taken elopements where they're just like, we're gonna go to the courthouse, or they have an officiant like marrying them, um, right in like the park or something like that, and we just do a photo shoot, like just taking pictures of that and then doing a photo shoot right after. That's super cheap. And then they go out with their family afterwards. They go have a nice big family dinner or something like that. But get married how you want to get married. But it's the point of like, I've talked to people and I'm just like, oh, like how long? Like, we're not gonna need you for that long. Maybe like 2 hours. And I'm like, all right, well, $500. And they was like, oh, I was thinking more like 250. And then it's just like, this is the most important day of your life, and you want to shortchange yourself, and you want to charge like 250. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, no, we're not doing that. So it's just like,
I'm
no point.
I'm not gonna lie to you. When people shortchange me, but I'm like, man, I need more work right now. In my head, and this is also bad, but in my head, I'm like, okay, all right, you've seen my other work, so you know what I'm capable of. Now let me show you a little bit less of what I'm capable of at this point, because
Yeah.
you're gonna pay for what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I had a client like a while back, I shot like this party for, we'll call it a low amount of money. And it wasn't like super low because I was only there for like 2, 3 hours. But my hourly is $215.
Yeah.
And I went and shot for $200. And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, I hope you like these photos. And didn't get a response. And I was just like, and there, I was like, oh, like, everything all good? Like, do I need to like and they're like, oh no, we liked them. And I'm like, okay, well, I now understand what was going on here. And
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, did I do myself a disservice by like not really putting my whole heart into it? Kind of. But
Yeah.
also, do I also really care all that much because they're like, oh, this is all we got? Like,
Yeah.
no, like, you're hiring me last minute. Like, you need to make sure you're setting aside a budget for these important things. And so it goes two ways. For clients, understand what comes with the cost, and for those who are behind the camera and doing the work, understand what you're worth and run
Yeah.
with that. And understand that regardless of level between beginner and pro, you're worth way more than you think you are.
Yep. You definitely are, and that's the comments. The common thing is like people try to like appease other people, and it's like I get it. Like we're all creatives. I obviously want to work with people and be affordable, but then I also want to make sure I have the amount of time to actually put the work in I want to into photo shoots and like concerts and stuff. Like if it's like I have to worry about shooting. I used to shoot like 4 or 5 concerts a week, like full concerts, and just like hitting up every single band and like saying like, "Hey, I got photos." When I was charging like $100 or like $75 for like photos, so it's like, oh, like I get 4 people to book. That's three. Like let's say that's 3 or 4 different concerts. That's only $300. You feel me? So it's like not even that much money. So it's like yeah, I'm trying to put in that work and I'm paying my dues, but at the same time, it's like I'm doing a disservice to myself because now I'm being sought after. You feel me? Like now people are hitting me up because they like, oh, I saw your photos and I really want you to come shoot our show, and I'm charging this much money, and it's just like no, I'm very selective now. Like I would love for anybody to get me and book me. You feel me? Like even now I do local band like specials and stuff like that. So it's like, hey, if it's a local show, all local bands, I tell them, you want photos, this is my starting price. But I do local band packages. So the more people on the bill that book me, the cheaper it is for everybody. And I'm like throwing y'all all a deal. So if all 4 bands will book me, it may be 150 a piece. Yeah, that's $600 for me, but it's 150 a piece for them. Compared to like if one books me is 250 or two books me is like 200 or something a piece, like whatever. But I'm like I'm trying to work it out so it's cheaper, but it's like I also want to make sure that I actually have time to edit this stuff and I'm not rushing to go to the next shoot because I need to make up the money. And that like I've been through that before. Like that drains you super fast where it's just like I can't I can't do anything. Like I don't even have time to edit because I'm so busy like shooting and trying to make money, especially when you're doing it full time. And then like if you working a full-time job and doing this on the side, like you have no time for nothing. So that's why I'm like I have to charge accordingly so I can like live off of this. And like
Yep.
it's just it's frustrating. I mean, I know I'm in a different position than most people because I like have kids and stuff like that, but it's like that exposure stuff. Like my kids, like they don't care about exposure. Like when they need some new shoes, they want to go to Chick-fil-A or something, and they want to whatever they want. We want to go to the mall. Like they don't want to hear that. Oh, I can't. Like daddy had to work this whole weekend and just get exposure for payment. Like they don't want to hear that. So it's just like nah. Even if because I've had conversations with people in the past with touring because touring is like it's one of those things every concert photography wants to do eventually. Like they want to go on tour and stuff, but people would be so thirsty to go on tour that they were undercut people, and it's just like I've had conversations with people when they're like, oh well, I'm only charging this much, but it's fine. Like I still live at home with my parents. Like I don't have a lot of overhead right now. This and that, and it's just like cool. You can go and do photo and merch for $25 a day and just get your tips. So you getting like $75 a day because you don't have any bills. Like that's great for you. But it's like if I'm gone for 30 days, I'm gone for my kids for 30 days. I have rent, I have car note, I have all of my utilities, everything falls on me. So like, yeah, I gotta charge double that. Now if you're doing the same quality of work as me and then you charging half of what I'm charging, it's just like you messing up the industry, and you're gonna mess it up once you get to a higher level. People are gonna expect you to still do that work at that price point, and then if you raise your prices, they just gonna go get somebody cheaper because you were doing that. So yeah, slippery
It,
slope.
you gotta be careful out there. So just know what you're worth, man, because
Yeah,
it's something that every person who does what we do has to figure out, because we all start off doing something like that, but it's about
Yeah.
growing out of that and not doing that anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
It's that it has to be a reasonable growth. Like I tell people to look at their price sheets like every 6 months and just run the numbers. Like, how was this like was I paying out more than I'm paying in? Like all of these different charges and stuff like that. Like you wanna definitely hit like a minimum of what you wanna accept or what you want to charge. So it's just like usually once a year, sometimes twice a year, I'll raise my prices. And I just let people know, like, hey, it might be a slight bump. It might only bump by like $25 per package or whatever it is, but it's going to be a bump. It's because it's like the more experience I get, the more I'm going to raise my prices because I want people to seek me out and get the quality that I have to offer. I don't want to have to minimize the quality that I'm putting out because you want to pay me when I tell you $2,800 for your wedding, you're like, oh, my budget is 1,200. And it's like, well, I can come to your wedding, but I charge $1,400 and then I'm going to be there for 4 hours. And it's just going to be me. Compared to if you pay me $2,800, I'll be there for 8 hours and I'll bring an assistant. So it's just like it depends on what you want to get. But like this is also still the minimum I will go. So like if you want me, you get me. If not, oh well, that's on you.
exactly. Exactly. And something I want to touch on that you mentioned is, for those people who live at home, don't you want to get out? Don't you want to move? Like, how do you expect to do that off the little $300 that you're gonna probably spend all on fast food?
Yeah.
Like, it ain't gonna happen. Like, so realistically, once again, I'll say this: if, and this is gonna sound so awful, but at the same time, it's about, like, think about it. If you're hiring someone and you specifically want them and you're not willing to have anybody else, get your money up. Stop being
Yeah.
broke.
Yeah.
For
Get
that
your money
situation
up.
only, stop being broke.
Yeah.
Cause like, or get off that broke mentality, because otherwise you're not getting them.
Yeah.
And
And
if
I
you're a photographer, it goes the same exact way. So
yeah. I do it all the time. I like see people that I want to get stuff done by artists. It could be a tattoo artist, whoever. Like, oh, what's your charge? Like, how much would you charge for this? And they say, I'm gonna charge this much for this. Okay, cool. Now I know. Now I know how much money I need to get this piece done because I came to you because I want you to do it. And it's like,
exactly.
and people were just like, oh, I can afford to take less. Imagine going to school and becoming a nurse or becoming a doctor, and then you go fill out the job application, and they like, yeah, I know doctors make about 200 grand a year, but I still live at home with my parents. Like, I don't really have a lot of overhead. Like, you could just pay me like 50 grand. Like, who would say that? Nobody would say that. So it's like, why would you do that when it comes to like photography? Like, yeah, it's fun and it's like cool. You get to take Instagram stories and be like, hey, I'm on tour. But at the end of the day, it's still a job. Like, is it a cool job? Absolutely. But it's still a job. And you want to be able to take care of yourself, your family, and make a career out of it. You have to future proof yourself. It's simple.
Yep. I'm glad that we're both now on that same page. Now we're publicly saying that to
Yeah.
everyone who's gonna be sorry enough to sit here and watch us and listen to us rant for like a half hour
Yeah.
about it.
I want you to feel bad about your prices right now. I want you to go
Yup.
look at those prices and be like, why did I charge this person $100 for this? And just bump it up, just slightly. Just bump it up. Like every like now I have like a especially with weddings, I'm like every 4 weddings I do, I bump up my price. Cause like that's more experience, whatever. Like concerts is a little, different. But it's just like, hey, I bump up my stuff. And that's just what you should do. Um, yeah, but I'm not gonna beat up too much on them right now because we're
Yeah.
gonna have
No,
plenty
you've
more
heard,
times where we can beat up on people for charging too little.
y'all have heard it now. So
Yeah,
we'll
uh,
say it probably 300 more times at this point.
yeah. And if you follow me on like Twitter and stuff, like I'm occasionally like I'm probably gonna tweet it today. I'm gonna just be like, hey, just in case you haven't in a while, it's time to raise your prices. Like, just so you
Shoot,
know.
I'll tweet it too.
Yeah, like we got to. Um I did want to get your opinion on this because like I'm not a video guy, but I do enjoy my share of like films and stuff like that. But I know you're the video person, so it's just like I want to get your opinion. I don't know if you saw this or not, but it was
I did. I did.
you know exactly what I'm talking about. Martin Scorsese
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
all right,
Let everybody who's listening and
yeah.
watching know real quick.
So Martin Scorsese says, fight back against comic book culture by supporting directors like Christopher Nolan. We've got to save cinema. Now, granted, I did not read the whole thing. I immediately laughed at Scott Derrickson because he like retweeted it and he was like, "Oh, you talk about Christopher Nolan that made the Batman trilogy?" And then I was like, immediately I was just like, how could you just ignore all of that? So yeah, I'm gonna say what I tweeted, and then I'm gonna let you chime in because I know you're no
Yeah.
more film than me. But I said both can exist. You can make successful movies. Just y'all just have to understand that times are changing, and no one wants to sit and watch 3 hour long mob movies all the time. I love all movies. Nolan made some of the best comic book movies of all time. I just watched The Dark Knight yesterday. And it was funny because I literally had just watched The Dark Knight. It was just like awing over how amazing it was.
Mhm.
And I said, also, just to know, I love my artsy fartsy movies too. But damn, these people act so pretentious sometimes. Just be great in the field and let other people do what they want. It's okay to have fun at the movies. You won't die. If it's bad, don't support the film. It's simple.
Yeah.
Ooh. So what's your thoughts? And then I'll get a little bit more to it.
So Martin Scorsese saying that out loud with his whole chest is wild.
By the way,
That's just
he's one of the GOATs, by the way. We're not knocking Martin. I'm not knocking Martin. He's one of the GOATs, but
he is one of the GOATs, but for him to say that out loud, I'm just like, man, that age really is catching up with you. That's why you're starting to run out of movies to make. That's why because actually this year was a movie of the big three, because Scorsese has a film out this year, Christopher Nolan has a movie out this year, and then there was also just the what's it called, the Asteroid City. So there was
Wes Anderson,
the Wes Anderson. So you had like a big 3 year.
Yeah.
And actually, pretty sure this movie coming out from Scorsese is his last movie.
It could possibly be his last movie.
If I remember correctly,
he said it could possibly be his last movie. I think he's trying to do like one or maybe two more. But you know, he's like, you know, he's not immortal. So he did an interview saying like, hey, like this might be like my last movie type of thing, which is super sad. But
it is super sad. It is super sad, but also bro might need a break after saying that. But but I think what he's more trying to get at is to stop, because I can also see where he's trying to say, and that's why I can get what you were saying.
Yeah.
These comic book movies that come out, like, I personally don't go and see a lot of them because I think they're kind of mid, because they are kind of mid.
Yes, they are.
And it's like, can you make an artsy movie in 2 hours? Yes. Yeah. Like A24 does it all the time. All the time. And are those movies all like storyline, like the most incredible movies? No. Also no. But are they shot beautifully? Yes. Absolutely. They're art films. They're meant to make you sit there and be like, huh, nice. Or wow, that was like from like an art perspective, like, yeah, But at the same time, man, I don't want to go see that. Sometimes I want to go and watch a rom-com. Sometimes I want to
Mm,
go and watch something goofy. Sometimes I want to go and watch a horror movie that is so bad that movie better have zero point 0.5 stars out of 10. Like,
yeah.
or like out of 5, you know. It better, if I'm going to look at Rotten Tomatoes, that movie better say 27%.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I just want to watch those, you know.
Yeah.
But that's why I can get what he's saying. But on the same note, it's like Christopher Nolan is gonna put out a beautiful movie when he wants to put out a beautiful movie, and he's gonna put out a not so, like, he's gonna chill when
Tenet.
he's gonna chill.
Tenet. Yeah, I thought you were gonna say a not so good movie. I said Tenet, but
Well, yeah.
yeah.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go in on another goat, because Christopher Nolan is also a goat.
Also a goat. Like Interstellar is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like I cry every
Interstellar
time I
is in
watch
my
it.
top 5. Yeah,
Like I cry every time I watch it. I just made my sister watch it for the first time, and she cried because she's like a that like nerd when it comes to like space and like astrophysicists and like stuff like that. So like I was pausing it and because it was just getting her brain working, and she loved it and how accurate it was. So it's just like no, it's great storytelling. Like, but everybody has a dud every once in a while, and but this is my biggest thing. It's like when I watch because I'm a big Spider-Man fan. So like when I watched No Way Home, um the latest Spider-Man movie. I don't know. Did you end up seeing it?
I have. I saw like half of it.
All right. And did you end up seeing like the Spider-Man, the animated ones?
Oh, those movies are perfect.
Exactly. So my point exactly. When
No Way Home was not bad from what I had seen. I've
no.
seen half of it, in the sense of like saw it in a half and saw it in a half, and so like
Oh.
I've seen it.
So you have like a movie like No Way Home, which it is a superhero movie, but it is so much depth into the characters and so much lore that like even if you're not a fan of Spider-Man, you could watch that movie for what it is and still be emotionally like grabbed by that movie. Like
Yeah,
it's
because
just
No
a
Way Home's
good
the one where
movie.
they all have a cameo too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, yeah, when they all like everything crosses over and stuff. So like those are good superhero movies. Then you have stuff like that's kind of mid. That's like if when they dropped the Black Widow, and I was like, yeah, maybe they should have dropped this before Endgame. Like now that it's after Endgame, it's like I don't really care about it anymore. So it's just
Yep.
like whatever. So it's just
Or
like
we can, like, I've thought superhero movies have been played out, but I've seen things like Green Lantern and Hulk.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah,
Oof.
yeah,
Like, superhero movies where like I grew up reading these comics, or oh my god, even the TV shows that were on like the CW.
yeah.
I hate to say it, but most of them are not that good. Like, I watched them because
Mm-mm.
like they look good, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I can appreciate this. But like, what was it? The is it Supergirl that's like super good, but then like you've got stuff like Arrow that's kind of eh,
It's like, yeah,
and then the Flash that started off like yo, and then
yeah,
became like eh.
yeah, yeah. It's
And
just
then
like,
like half of those Marvel movies, like leading up to Endgame, like it was either wow, this is really good, or oh my god, that was a car crash.
yeah, because it's like once they found Marvel like the Marvel formula, like I get what he's saying. Like the Marvel formula, first of all, it's not even working for Disney anymore. Let's get that out the way
No.
because like people are tired of it. So the fact that like a movie drops nowadays and immediately they like we have to make this a trilogy, we have to make this like a universe, and it's like no, just make a good film and that's it. Like you don't have to do that. Now if it comes with a film where it's like yes we can make a trilogy out of it, obviously like comic book movies, whatever. But every film that comes out, I do not need an end credit scene. I do not need to leave the door open like maybe it'll be a next one. Like I don't need that. So I'm like, we need more stories to be told to their fullest potential in that 2 to 3 hour mark, and that's it. You just have a
Yep.
good film. So that's when I agree with him on that. But
Yep.
yeah,
Because we
like you
saw that
said,
with Transformers too.
yeah, yeah,
Another movie where they're like, let's just keep leaving it open. And let's just keep
yeah,
leaving it open. And now we've got trash. And it's
yeah,
just like, you guys have millions of dollars in these budgets and you're pulling this? And I've seen films shot on budgets less than 10 grand that blow that out of the water and tell
yeah.
a story in less than 10 minutes?
It's
Like,
like
what?
it's like when you think of the Fast and Furious movies. I love the OG Fast and Furious movies. Like that is the reason why I drive the type of cars I drive. Like everything, I love the car culture, all of that. But it's like when they stop racing on the ground, and then you got Vin Diesel like pulling a helicopter out the sky, like with his muscles and like the power and will of family. It's just like, all right, we gotta stop this. Like we gotta stop
Family.
this. We gotta stop this. So I'm like, I definitely get it. I just hate when people get like all like pretentious about it a little bit, and they're just like, I don't know. It's just like, all right, let people enjoy things. Like we don't always have to watch like crazy movies like that. Like The Departed, one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, yes, amazing film. Like The Irishman, when I saw The Irishman when it came out on Netflix,
Oof.
amazing film. But also, it's like I don't want to watch.
6 hours
I
or
don't want to
whatever it
watch.
was.
Yeah, it was like 4 hours almost. I'm like, I don't want to watch a movie like this every like couple months, like every 6 months in the cinema. Like, no, like give me a dope like A24 film or something. Like when I seen Bo is Afraid, I forgot how long that movie was, but Bo is Afraid was amazing, and I don't even think it was that long. It might have been like 2 hours, but um, you have amazing storytelling, and it's just non-conventional, and it's the artsy fartsy type movies, and it's like you can tell different stories for different people in different markets. I just want him to not be mad at the consumers and be mad at the studios because he's Martin Scorsese. Nobody's going to tell him, hey, Martin, we need you to do this. But these up and coming directors that only got a couple movies under their belt and they haven't really proved themselves yet, or they still kind of finding their way, big studios would be like, okay, this is great, but we need you to make it like this. Like, we need something like, okay, could it potentially have like a sequel? Like, could it potentially have this? Like, there's no reason why John Wick 4 should have ended with him dying. And then they're still kind of like up in the air. Like, maybe we'll bring him back. Or maybe we'll go and do like prequel of like the old stuff he used to do. It's like, no, like just let the story end. Just let it die.
Yeah.
Please.
It's like what was it? I've seen a couple things make a couple different jabs at it, but the most recent jab I saw was the new Futurama
Yeah.
making jabs at it. While I think Futurama should have just ended when it did, even though I
Yeah.
love Futurama, it's like soap operas.
Yeah.
They don't end; they just keep them going, and
Yeah.
they have these like insane stories, or like you've seen it on all of those animated TV shows where they talk about how um they have like these stories and the story is good and then it ends, but they're not like, they've realized that they've made so much money off of it that they have to keep making money off of it. And it's like, how about you do something where you create something new, build a new universe, or just like tell a whole new story with that genius that you built off of, and you can still make a lot of money, but
Yeah.
you can let that story die, like
Yeah.
let it end where it ended, because sometimes that's why like a lot of things that are so good, everything's got a bad ending, or everybody's always up in arms about how things end because it ends way later than it should have.
Yeah.
Like, you could have just cut it and made all your money, and you could just sell like merch or something. People eat that stuff up.
Yep.
I know I do.
Yeah. It's it's just like shows that end at like the peak are like the best. Like when I think of like when I recently watched The Sopranos, like over like the pandemic and like all of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, like probably like I think it was like last year or whatever. I watched The Sopranos from beginning to end. Amazing show. Last season, yeah, it was kind of all over the place, but they were tying up a bunch of loose ends and stuff like that. And then the "Don't Stop Believing" scene at the end, and it just fades to black, and they just like that's it. Now, granted, yes, it leaves everybody open, but we all know what happened to Tony. He got shot, face down in what did he say? Face down in the red sauce or whatever. But
Yep.
it's just like that's good storytelling. They ended it where they needed to end it because if it would have kept going on, then you got like a Grey's Anatomy situation where it's like 20 seasons in. Like it should have ended. I'm like, I don't even think like Meredith Grey is even on the show anymore. So it's just like, what are we doing? The only shows I can accept
Yep.
that for is like Law and Order, like those type of
Yep.
shows, because those
Well,
shows,
but that doesn't have like a. It has like stories where
yeah,
like the main characters have their little like little things, like where they have their own stuff going on that you can keep up with, but it's
yeah,
all different every single
yeah,
time. Always something new. It's no
always something
real
new.
story unless it's a multi-parted episode.
Yeah,
But that's why so many people were up in arms about all the sitcoms that finally came to an end. Why people were hating on like Game of Thrones,
mm.
while I know people are 50-50 on Breaking Bad. I like the ending of Breaking Bad, even though I think it should have ended a little more closer to like that climax. But
Yeah, yeah. I
another show with a good ending. But
I remember I watched Breaking Bad. I like got into it like it was already like 3 seasons or 4 seasons in, and I got into it and I watched it all up until Hank figured out that Walter was I was gonna say Oppenheimer, Heisenberg.
no way.
Yeah,
Yeah, bro dropped
yeah,
the nuke.
yeah. So right up into that episode, and then I stopped watching it because I was like, I don't want this show to end. Like it was amazing. Like I'm like, I don't want this show to end. And then I recently, like, I think when El Camino came out, I was like, all right, I got to go finish Breaking Bad. And then I finished it. And it was good, but it was just kind of too, like, yeah. It's like hard to kind of tie up loose ends on shows and stuff anyway. Like, I like how it ended because he lost everything. And, like, ain't no spoilers. It's Breaking Bad. If you haven't seen it by now, whatever. He lost everything, yeah. And he lost his whole family and then he died, but he chose to die doing what he loved, which is cooking meth. Like so he died in the
Yep.
lab. So it's like yeah, that was his love letter to that. But it was just like to me that's good. That's a good way to end the show. And Jesse got away and stuff like that, they did his thing, but when it comes to like just not ending stuff like when it's supposed to end, like I feel like that's what he was talking about. I'll probably go and read the article. Like that's probably what he's most likely talking about. It's just like
Yeah.
this cookie cutter, like let's make everything like this type of thing. It takes the creativity out of stuff. It takes the creativity out of like let's try something new because they want it to be the next this or the next that, and it's just you
Yeah.
can't do that.
That takes the whole point away from filmmaking. You're
Yeah.
creating an art piece. Like this is supposed to be an art piece.
Mm.
Why are you going up to the canvas, flicking some paint on it and saying this is art? That's
Yeah.
all you're doing when you do that.
Yeah.
And everybody's been making jokes about that since time began, effectively.
Yeah.
Like, and so I don't know, man. It just I can see where he's coming from, but also he made kind of a goofy comment and he worded it kind of in his like little bit of a delusional state.
Yeah, it was the it
But
was
I'm
the
stoked
like
for that movie though.
I'm excited for that movie too.
That,
Like
that's actually this month.
I think does it come out on the 6th or
It's Killers of the Moonflower, right?
yeah
Is that the movie? Yeah.
yeah
And that's out on the 20th.
The 20th. Okay. Yeah. Nah, and that's gonna be an amazing film. Like, and I'm gonna go watch it, of course.
Yep.
But
Well,
it's
it's
just
got
like
some huge names in it. So,
exact. And then, but then I'm gonna also go see the little goofy movies that I want to go see too. Like, I'm gonna go watch Saw 10, even though I know it's gonna be terrible.
oh
I'm
yeah,
gonna
I want to
watch it.
go see that movie so
And
bad.
I'm gonna go watch it, even though I'm gonna frown my face up and be like, but it's just like, well, that's another thing that it needs to die. But I'm still gonna watch it, and
Yep.
yeah, people just let people enjoy things. Like, so I get both sides of the coin. It's like if you're gonna do it,
Exactly.
if you're gonna keep it going, do it right. I feel like Scream, when they did
Oh
that,
boy, that's what I was
they
thinking.
did it right. They like did Scream 4. Scream 4 was like, but then when they came back with Scream 5, that was like the rebrand, and they did it the right way. And then 6 was even better than 5 to me. And it's just like they did it the right way. That is how you keep something going. But
Yep.
if you're not gonna
Scream
do it
though
like that, end it.
needs to get cut. It's
Yeah.
it's good, but I can see deteriorations.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
either this next one or the one after it, even if it's 8,
Yeah, it needs to
cut
be done. Yeah, it needs to be done. It needs to be done because there's not many more storylines you can really keep getting. Like it's just like now I feel like they could have did that with Saw though. Like if they did with
Yes.
Saw what they did with Scream, like first of all, we know everything possible about this old man. You feel me? So that story is already told. So I don't want to keep revisiting that. Like, granted, I don't remember. Like, I didn't even watch the trailer because I don't watch trailers a lot anymore. Anyway, but like, it's just like we've explored that already. So like, give me something else. Give me like a copycat that's like doing it like Jigsaw, but doing it like his new way and stuff like that. Like, give me something like that. Don't just give me like the same tired story that's just we've been doing for the longest. Like, nah, I don't want it.
Exactly. See, I miss when I would get hyped for Saw movies because I'm like, oh shoot, yo, this has like all the metal bands in it that I like. They all
Yeah.
got like songs in these movies, and like the kills are like good. But now I'm just sitting there like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
like, oh, that was crazy, like, oh, gross, like,
Yeah. And that's why I don't get too hype on stuff no more. Like I will, but it's just like I'm like, no, not really. I don't get too hyped because I don't want to get my hopes up. I want to get my hopes up. It's only certain directors that I would get my hopes up for, certain writers that I would get my hopes up for. But like, other than that, I'm just like, I'm gonna watch it. If it's good, it's good. I don't even believe like the regular audience like anymore. Like if they be like, oh, this movie is so good, you gotta watch it, or this show is so good, you gotta watch it. I'm usually like, no, I'm gonna wait.
probably not.
Yeah. So, yeah, I get my man's Martin, but also it's a little bit of like, all right, Grandpa. Like it's time to take it.
Time to go to bed, Grandpa.
Yeah, all right, Grandpa. Back in my day,
Yeah.
these films we did this. All right, Grandpa. Sure it was. All right, like stop yelling at the clouds. Like,
Oh no.
yeah,
That's why, honestly, I'm gonna hit it. This is my last thing that I have to say on this topic for me personally. I'm gonna hit it with the, if he's saying that movies need to be done in this way, but I'm thinking, wow, I love short. Why don't I just do it myself? And so that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop complaining about these movies. I'm gonna stop having all these opinions, and I'm gonna do it myself. And I'm gonna have all these growing pains. But guess what? It's gonna happen on a budget that is way lower than theirs.
exactly. No,
And
that's
that
facts.
is that for me.
Yeah, no, that's that for me too. Um, yeah, I think we covered everything. I think everything was cool and chill for this first episode ish, whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
yeah, again, we're gonna be jumping in and out episodes. and we're gonna start interviewing some people too. So definitely interview stuff, and then when we interview people, we gonna have like questions and stuff that you could throw out to the person that we're interviewing, and also questions that y'all can throw out to us, so we can answer them too on the pod. But yeah, I'm awkward. Just follow us on social media. I just made all
Yeah.
the social medias today. I still got to make a TikTok, but I made Instagram, Twitter, and Spotify, so we can actually have people listen to this, and YouTube. So yeah,
Exactly.
follow us on all that. The Shot for Shot Pod, and on Twitter is the Shot for the number 4 Shot Pod because somebody stole the name. Anyway,
well, I need to go drop a follow on that after.
Yeah,
actually.
go drop a follow. But yeah, that's all for today, and I'm gonna just end it. We out.
All right, see you later, guys.
See you.